Welcome back to the D4 channel. May the 4th be with you. Because of stuff that happened last week, I wasn't able to record it with my other half, so I am going to do a review on 7 and 8 today, and then we will also do a review on the final 2 episodes. That will be with the usual D4 duo, but with 7 and 8 it will be just me for today, so it won't be nearly as long because I doubt you guys want to hear me yapping for that long, but I will be giving you my thoughts on episodes 7 of 8 of Maul Shadow Lord. We are going to the Maul, and as always, before we get to the video, please like and subscribe to the D4 channel for all your Star Wars entertainment on this side of the YouTube galaxy, and please hit the bell for notifications for every time we upload a video. But without further ado, let's get to it. So 7 and 8, we are talking about Maul Shadow Lord. Man, these episodes have been bangers. Episode 7, Call to Oblivion. So it happens at the events of 6, where we have Maul and Devin fighting the Inquisitor Morok on the train. They narrowly escape, and now Devin and Riley are alone with the Shadow Lord. Meanwhile, we have Captain Lawson and Uncle Zaki, Jedi Master Zaki, on their own side quest to try to find their son and Padawan, respectively. So I love this episode because these 2 episodes specifically delve deep into Maul's psyche and where he's at, and really adds more depth to the character. Yes, B1, more depth to the character than he already had back in the Clone Wars and earlier on in his TV show. So I love how, like, no one trusts Maul except for Rook. Rook is probably his biggest supporter and most loyal companion. But Devin and Riley are basically saying he won't let us leave. Like, he helped us out, sure, we're grateful for that, but we want to leave. And Maul gives the illusion of they could do what they want. They have the freedom to come and go as they choose. But he knows really that's just a lie. He wants Devin there. He wants to, turn her to the dark side, make her his new apprentice. And when they try to leave, because I love how earlier on in the episodes of this season, he's trying to pretend that he's all patient and wise and like what Obi-Wan is, but he really isn't. And this episode, we see the true Maul. When she tries to escape, he's like, I'm sick of this. I had enough of this. You're coming with me, and I'm not giving you a choice. And she's like, I thought we had the freedom to go and come and choose. And he's like, stop that, bro. I will teach you how to destroy the Empire. And she's like, you can't beat the Empire, like the whole Empire. And he's like, I have a grand plan. Just follow me, and I'm gonna get this done. Which I'm curious to know what his grand plan was, because at this point in time, I don't know if he knows about Malachor, because a little thing about Rebels in Malachor, now he did get stranded there, so maybe he figured out what that machine could do. But on Malachor in Star Wars Rebels, it was a super weapon on that planet, a massive space station that I don't know exactly what it can do, but based on the surroundings around the ashes and the planet, it could probably turn a huge amount of people in a certain radius to like stone/dust. So I don't know if that's what his grand plan he's talking about here, or maybe he's just talking about amassing enough followers in the underground, underworld, and slowly amassing an army to challenge Emperor Palpatine. But the thing I love about these episodes is that you see how vast the soldiers of the Empire is. They're like the B1 battle droids. It's not that they're particularly skilled, but there's so much of them. And the problem with the Empire is the stormtroopers aren't clones. They aren't genetically engineered. There isn't a limit to them. The stormtroopers are just people every day who's drinking the Kool-Aid of the Empire, signing up. So theoretically, the Empire is infinite. So even if Maul was able to amass a decent amount of followers in the Underworld Syndicate, you can only go so far compared to the regular citizens of the galaxy, which is why during the sequel trilogy and even during the original trilogy, why the Empire failed is because normal people, regular Joes, day to day, signed up to fight oppression, to fight the evil that is the Empire. So I don't know his grand plan necessarily was, but I doubt it was even gonna scratch Palpatine's Empire. But I love that he's freaking out. He's not letting her go. And then right when he's like about to fight, they look like they're about to fight. The Empire surrounds them, and Devin has to make a choice: either fight or escape. She chooses to fight with Maul, even though Riley is like telling her, let's go, let's escape. But I think at this point, she feels some kind of connection with Darth Maul, to the point where she's like, I feel like I have to fight with him, because she herself is still dealing with everything that's happened. Order 66, her fellow Jedi being massacred, them having to beg every day on the street. She does not like the Empire either. So even though she's presented with the idea of running, she secretly really wants to fight the Empire. I think that's why she's so enthralled with Maul, because unlike her Master Daki, who wants to lay low and just hide out until, things kind of readjust themselves within the living force, Darth Maul's offering her the choice to fight back. And she's a kid, she's a teenager, so of course that idea is more appealing to her. So that's something that allures her to Maul. But after Riley gets kidnapped from the stormtroopers, she fails to protect him, and then she decides to leave Maul to the Imperials. And also, I just love how Morak and I believe his name, the Crow, they have been doing very well. From two Inquisitors that were basically kind of like throwaway, especially the Crow, where Ahsoka beats him in like 2 seconds. They are really showing their horror and scariness in this season, because if you didn't think they were a threat before, they're definitely a threat now. And either the Inquisitors, as the years gone by, gotten diluted, these Inquisitors are very powerful for something that we would think that someone like Maul or Ahsoka did handle more the Crow pretty easily. But you think they'd be throwaway characters to someone like Maul, but they present a decent amount of fight to Maul in this episode. But before I get to them fighting, we have Riley and the whole thing in the police station. He gets caught. He's sent back to the police station with 2 boots. They interrogate him. The Crow interrogates him, which it's a good thing he didn't know anything, because that interrogation probably could have gotten a lot worse. And to see someone like him walk into the room, that has to scare your pants. And then meanwhile, on Darth Maul's end, he has a little respite from the Imperials attacking him, and some of the Mandalorian mercenaries are not happy. They don't know what the plan is. They're losing credits. They're losing people, and some of them are like, bro, this is financially not viable for us anymore. And Rook, his most loyal companion, says calm yourself or I'll take you out right now. And Maul's basically I think it's time we deal with them. But Rook's listen, I'm loyal to you because you sieged the Mandalore, you obtained the throne, you got the dark saber, you are technically the Mandalore right now, so I will be loyal to you. But she's like, but other Mandalorians, you have to pay them for their loyalty. And if you keep losing credits like this, keep running away, and it's not feasible to them, they will betray you. And so I'm hoping Maul is clocking that in his head. But he's just worried about Devin right now. And she even says the Padawan's clouding your judgment. You're only focused on this damn Padawan. So the Padawan is clouding this man's judgment because he really wants an apprentice. I think he really just wants a friend too. So now Lawson and Uncle Daki has to go and rescue Riley in the police station. And I love that 2 boots. We've been frustrated with this damn droid for the whole season, especially because he's the reason why this is all happening in the first place, because he called the Empire. But we see now that he's because it's funny, because he's still kind of the same droid, except he's realizing the Imperials don't follow protocol. And that's the whole point with his whole character, follow protocol. The Empire is not following protocol. This Lieutenant Blake, I believe, is not following protocol. And he does not like it. He thought they were going to come and bring order and stuff. And he's realizing very quickly that they ain't about this order shit. So he's secretly trying to devise a plan with Lawson to get his son back. Now, as Maul and his compadres try to escape into the forest, I love this scene because this shows you how like dangerous these Inquisitors are, these Jedi hunters. They're not just throwaway before you get to someone like a Vader or even the Grand Inquisitor, who's like a higher end Inquisitor for them. They are a proper excuse me, I can't speak. They are a proper problem. And I'm thinking, all right, I've seen Maul in Rebels. Like, there was 3 Inquisitors there, and he seemed like he was handling them quite easily. Or maybe because he became more seasoned over the years. But I also love that he's not 100%. His legs are robotic. They can handle falls from long distances without being cushioned by the Force. So I love that plays into like him getting hurt. Also, I think it also plays in a lot of the battles with Force users and lightsaber battles. A lot of times the victory comes to that person who's more centered, who is more sure of themselves, who knows themselves. Maul, at this point in time, he may be in his physical prime, but mentally he's not in his prime. And I think that's what thank you. I think that is what like really hurts him during these fights. And it was so cool to see. The lightsaber combat in this show is so freaking fantastic. And even though the whole time I'm thinking Maul really, like, even despite his leg being hurt a little bit, Maul should really be like putting the work on these two. But credit to Morok and the Crow, especially the Crow. They were putting work in on Darth Maul. His leg was obviously a problem, and right when they have him, right, one of the brothers, the Knight brothers, come to save him. And just like how Palpatine executed his brother Savage Opress on Mandalore, a similar thing happens to that brother, who is the brother. I don't know the names actually. I don't know if even if they mention the names in the show, but he gets cut. He gets stabbed in the chest and force pushed off the cliff. And you see Maul. Like, Maul's not a cold-hearted SOB. He feels for his people, his brothers. And so, that really hurt his feelings. And meanwhile, the couple Mandalorians who wanted to get paid, they didn't want to follow Maul anymore because it wasn't feasible anymore. They tried to run with this ship, and with poetic justice, they get shot out of the sky and they die. And luckily, Vario wasn't on that ship. Vario is still kicking with them, but Maul's getting his butt kicked by the Inquisitors. And I love, like, before Call to Oblivion, which is a perfect name for this episode because it's Oblivion's literally calling Maul. You see something that he surrenders. He puts his hand up, and whether or not he believes they'll take him in alive, you could feel and see and hear the fear in Maul. Like, he really doesn't know if this is it or not. Like, to him, the Inquisitors have him beat, Palpatine has him beat, and he is struggling right now. And I love that Morok says, there's no surrender for you, bro. Like, Emperor Palpatine wants you dead. And he says likewise. And then he pulls the roof over Morok and the Crow's head, bringing the whole ceiling down. And I love that he jumps. He literally jumps to off like a cliff in the next episode, which is the Creeping Fair, which is perfect for the title of what Maul is going through. He jumps off, barely surviving. He does a nice, cool little spin that is reminiscent to what Palpatine did in Episode 3 when he was fighting Mace Windu, Master Fisto, and stuff in his office. And he does a similar scream, which just kind of shows that, like, he can't escape this training. He can't escape, even though he's trying to be better. He's trying to be better than Sidious. But when you're brought up in that kind of religion with that kind of torture and abuse, you can't help but be like your abuser. So that was a little cool little sign to show that, like, as much as he's trying to be his own person, he's trying to be better, he's still got Palpatine in him. Like, he's still a bastard, he's still evil. But this episode really shows you that there's so much more to this, because when he's injured and he's in like the sewer of Janix, he sees a younger version of himself in the reflection of the water. He says, I hate you. And you really feel that, because sometimes, as humans, some days when we're really going through it, when we're going through depression, stuff like that, when you look into the mirror, out of everything that goes on in your life, everything that fights against you, you are your biggest opponent. You are your biggest adversary. And And a lot of times, you hating yourself can get in your way. And he hates himself. He hates himself for being weak. He hates himself for letting his allies die. He hates himself that he went with Palpatine, that he allowed Palpatine to betray him, to do what he did to him, to kill his mother, his brother. He hates how weak he is. And it's a big thing with a lot of the dark side Sith Lords, especially someone like Vader, and a lot of the Vader comics and even Legends. Even though there's many people Vader hates. He hates Obi-Wan, he hates Palpatine, he hates everything around him because of how his life turned out. But more than anything, he hates himself. There was a cool shot in one of the Vader comics where he's bleeding the crystal for the first time on Mustafar, and the crystal gives him, like, the Force gives him a vision of basically his path to redemption still. And it's going well so far until in this vision he meets Obi-Wan, and once Obi-Wan says Anakin, he hears his name, he snaps back out of it and he becomes infuriated and furious, and he bleeds the crystal and turns it red. That just shows that, like, he, out of everything in his life, he hates himself the most because of what he did. So seems to be a reoccurring thing with, like, Sith Lords or former Sith Lords. So this whole part about, like, Maul dealing with himself and his trauma was so fascinating to me, because you may have liked Maul because he's a cool character, his design is cool, he fights cool, he's voiced by Sam Witwer. But this episode is where you first really feel for the former Sith Lord. Like, you feel his pain. You're like, I get it, bro. Like, I want you to win, but because we know how his story turns out and where he is, we know he's not going to win. He's going to keep getting it in his way. But he's really trying. He's trying his best, and that's all a lot of us could do sometimes. So yeah. Well, now we go back to Lawson and Riley, and they're trying to save his son from the prison. And Two Boots is acting weird. And I love how I think the guy's name was Wade. Yeah, Wade. In the police station, he's like, why are you being weird? And Two Boots loved this phrase. He said, I'm not being weird, it's Lieutenant Blake that's not following protocol. And that is what's really making him like, you know what, let me have a heart. Because we all know droids are very much their programming, but if you leave them with their memory long enough, like R2, like 3PO, like K2SO, they tend to gain a personality and a heart. So he's gaining a little heart, and he's trying to get Riley out of there. And I love that when he gets Riley out of there, he's like, I'm surprised you wouldn't know me because of my Two Boots. And Lawson's like, bro, I don't know you anywhere, despite you not having your Two Boots, because you're a good droid, you're a good person. So I love that Two Boots finally made like a full circle, and now he's on the side of, like, yes, I like to follow protocol, but at the same time, I gotta do what's right. So I love the whole sequence of them trying to get away, and Devin is fighting her master, because the master's like, listen, we gotta get away, we gotta be conspicuous, like, and she's like, yeah, but this car is fast and cool, and this is how you get away properly if you're gonna get away in a chase. So I love that dynamic of, like, Devin's being a teenager. She's like, bro, what are you talking about? We can't get no slow, inconspicuous car. We're gonna get caught if we get into a chase. So I love how also Daki does the coolest move where, like, they're in the chase and she turns the car over and he force pushes a motorcycle and then force pulls one into one of the flying gunships. That was so cool. But yeah, going back to Maul, the greatest thing about the Force is there to teach. The Force is there to connect you to other sentient life forms, and in this moment the Force is giving Maul visions. We see small visions of him as a child. He's been taken away by Palpatine. We see Savage Opress saying, where are you taking my brother? We know that Palpatine and Mother Talzin had some kind of relationship, some kind of deal. Mother Talzin thought she was going to be a part of his grand plan, but he was really just using her to get her son. And we see a little bit of Maul being abused by Palpatine as a kid, getting shocked by lightning. And you're just thinking, man, growing up with this bastard, like, Maul is actually doing pretty good despite everything. A lot of people should be worse. And I love that in this whole scene, because like when we meet Maul, when he's crazy in the spider legs moment, he says the chains are the easy part. It's what's in here that's hard, and that's what he's fighting. He's fighting his brain. He's fighting the trauma, everything in his head. Like that's what the Force is showing him. He's trying to fight it to the best of his ability, and he really just can't, because like again, you grew up in this religion with this abuser. You can't help but like become what you were taught your whole life. But I love that throughout all of this, right, like we went to the whole point of him saying I hate you. And if you asked me if we're gonna see Darth Maul cry in anything, in any Star Wars media, I'd say you're out of your mind. Darth Maul does not cry, but he falls down and his younger self says I'm sorry in the reflection. And he's basically like it's not your fault. It's like, and he says something that like surprised me to my core. He said I won't let him do this to anyone, hurt anyone like this ever again. And that's something like you would think that would be a turning point for him to be a good person. Now obviously we know Maul's gonna twist that statement into like, I'm going to use and abuse and cause chaos to not let him hurt anybody. But when he says it, like the tears come down his face, you're like, damn, like I really felt that. Like no matter how bad Maul is, Palpatine is way worse. And this is where we first like we really feel for Maul. And obviously, you know, Maul gets back to his people, and everything's good. And Lawson and Riley and Devin, they're trying to get off the planet. They have a plan with his former bounty hunter girlfriend, which we know she's alive, but something's wrong. It's a trap. She says some kind of line that kind of hints to Captain Lawson that like, yeah, she's compromised. So, and we see that the two Inquisitors, Morok and the Crow, are waiting for them. They make a quick escape through the elevator, and then I love I'm going to call him his booty call, the bounty hunter. I can't remember her name. But she, as soon as she sees that like they tear through the roof, she quickly reacts, takes the stormtrooper's gun, shoots everybody, and shoots the engine of the plane. It blows up crazy. We're going to assume Lieutenant Blake is definitely dead. We don't know if she's dead. We didn't see a body. We saw her roll past like a crate or something, so we don't know if she's alive still. But, and obviously we know from Ahsoka and the Tales of Jedi, we know Morok and the Crow won't die from this explosion, but it does catch them off guard to give time for Lawson to escape. And it ends with like Maul's good, well, as good as he can be, walks into where Demas's office was. He has a few of his crew left, and then Varro gets a voice communication from Crimson Dawn, and it says Dryden Voss wants a audience with you. And that's where it ends, where we know that Dryden Voss wants to talk to Darth Maul to make a deal. Now, if we know anything about the future, we know that he eventually ends up being the leader of Crimson Dawn, Darth Maul, and taking over the rest of the syndicates. We know that Dryden Voss becomes the leader of Crimson Dawn as well. We don't know if he's a leader right now or not, but maybe he's trying to get ahead of Maul hunting him and killing Crimson Dawn for betraying him on Mandalore. But that's where it ends. So I love these two episodes. It really delves into the psychological horror that is going on in Darth Maul's head. He's a tortured being, and despite us wanting him to win, wanting him to be better, we know he won't. And that kind of makes the scene with Obi-Wan at the end of his life very poetic, because I think Obi-Wan senses all the hurt and trauma and fear and sorrow in Maul, and which is why, despite Maul torturing him for years, he feels sorry for him, because at the end of the day, they were all pawns and victims to Darth Sidious. So I really enjoyed both these episodes. I give them both a solid 9.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed these two episodes. The episodes for Maul Shadowed have only been getting better, and I really enjoy it. I'm really sad that the show's coming to an end, but I can't wait for season 2. And you guys let me know what you guys thought of both 7 and 8, The Creeping Fear, and Call to Oblivion. You let me know what your thoughts on these episodes in the comments below. And as always, like and subscribe to the D4 channel for all your Star Wars entertainment news, reviews, gaming, and all of the above. Please, please, please like and subscribe. And click the bell for notifications for every time we upload a video. This is Hamid Mark, half of the D4 channel. We are going to the mall. And in our next reviews, we are going to the mall for the last time, at least for now, in Season 1. And without further ado, may the 4th be with you always. I'll catch you guys later, kids. Peace.